Hello everyone, today I want to show you how to make a Pareto chart in Excel. So this is how the chart's going to look like. It has basically decreasing bars or columns lined up, and it also has an increasing curve that eventually adds up to 100% for each of the bars. So this is a chart that's usually used in financial analysis, and it's used for demonstrating, say, 80% of the results can be attributed to 20% of the causes. For example, maybe 80% of your revenue is generated from 20% of your sales, your products, blah, blah, blah. So I've known this kind of chart for a long time, but frankly, because I'm in the field of human resources, I just actually never used it in my real work life because I guess this kind of chart isn't that popular in demonstrating what I need for my HR purpose until recently I found this exact example that I'm showing here, which I think is actually a pretty good example that I can use in my real life to use this Pareto chart for my purpose. So that's why I'm going to show you what the case is and how we can create this Pareto chart. Okay, so let's get started. This is actually relating to employee turnover, which is like voluntary termination in HR terms. So basically, people always leave your company. Some are like involuntary leave if they were leave with a cause, with bad reasons, bad performance, but there are always voluntary termination, which means like people basically resign. So this is of course fake data, but I'm showing you here, let's say, from my experience for this organization, we have 10 reasons that people voluntarily resign from the organization. So it can be, say, better job opportunity, can be family obligation. For example, people just never return after maternity leave because they need to take care of the kids. Maybe it's because of compensation, because of location of work, conflicts, education, retirement, health reasons, blah, blah, blah. So you can see for all those reasons, some of the reasons that the company can improve. For example, maybe job growth, maybe compensation. But there are some reasons that the company just have no control of. Like for example, health reasons, right? Like family obligation. But anyhow, so let's say this is the headcount that we have calculated for people who actually people who actually left us for those reasons. And now let's find out what are the most critical reasons that people leave us, and we will see whether we have control or we can't do anything about them. So in order to create this Pareto chart, what I'm doing here is, first, you need to line up your items and you need to make sure your counts or whatever that you're measuring is sorted from the highest to the lowest, which I made a note here. And this is for how we can present our bars. And secondly, you need to calculate the cumulative percent of the headcount. And I purposely have two columns created here so you can see the difference. So for example, for the percent of headcount, it's simply demonstrating that for each of my item, what is the percent of it as a result of the total sum. So you can see it is a decreasing amount. And if I make a chart out of this item, what I'm going to see is something like this. So you would still have the bars lined up, but your percent will be a decreasing line because each item is less important for what we want to demonstrate. But this is not what we want. We actually want something like this with an increasing line, and that's when we need the cumulative percent of headcount. And actually, if you look at my formula here, what I'm trying to do here is that I first sum how many headcounts, in my case, I have up to that point. So for this, I only have one row, so it's only one row. So you see, I anchor my first cell, but then for the second cell, I'm leaving it open. And you will see that as I show you the following cells. And then for the total, you can see I'm using absolute reference because this is my total total head count, and I don't want this to change as I drag my formula down, and that gives me the same amount of, like, say 4%. So now I drag the formula down and it gives me this number, and then let's see, maybe just check this one. So when my formula goes to this cell, my anchor point for the beginning of the sum is still the first row, but then the anchor point for my last row is actually the row that I'm currently in. So that's why I did not use absolute reference for this cell. But then for my total head count, I still use the same absolute reference, so this part doesn't change. And that's how I can get the cumulative head count percent increase until, of course, the final one gets us to 100%. Okay, so now let's see how we can create this chart. So of course, you can actually delete this column. You don't need that. But just in case you have it like what I have here, how do we create it? You can still select all your data sets, go to recommended, and you can see Excel actually already guessed what you want and give you this chart. So this is a chart that we just created, and then let's just make it formatted a little bit. So you can see Excel kind of automatically assumed that I wanted bar chart for this, which I don't. So what I would do is that I select my chart and then right click and go to select data. And then you can see I have the percent of head count selected, which I don't want, and then I can either select it or I can remove it. And then now after that, this is pretty much the chart that we want, and then you can name it as whatever you want. But then for me, for example, let's say I want my bars to be wider, so I can go right click, go to format. I want my bars to be wider, or yeah, as wide as whatever. You can even make them align with each other if you want. So that's up to you, depending on what kind of format you want. And then for the lines, I want to show the percent. Remember, like in the other charts, we want to show the percent. So what we're going to do is select the chart and then go to add data label. It's going to automatically assign it somewhere, but then what you can do is select the data label, go to the right-hand side format data label, and then go to the label options, where you can see it's automatically assigned to the right. But you know what? For me, I want it to be above, and then I want it to be bolded, and then maybe I want it to be larger as well. So whatever. So this is how basically my chart can look like after whatever I have done, and I can make it bigger. Yeah. So this is how we created this Pareto chart, and actually go back to why we need this from the very beginning. You can see that actually 80%. So basically, if you look at just this part, this part of the reason. So we have, so basically, there are 5 key reasons for voluntary termination that attributed to 80% of our termination causes. So it's actually the first the first 5 reasons, and we can now, and then for the rest 5 reasons, which are 50% of the items, only attributes to less than 20%. So of course, this is telling us we should focus on the top 5 reasons. And then let's go into the top 5 reasons and then see what are the ones that we can have some control or not. Actually, I do think for the first 5, I think we all have control over it. Like even like, for example, better job growth, better compensation. Location, it's debatable, but then like relationship with colleagues, that's definitely something we can do. And then even for family obligations, maybe is it because that families, especially women, find it so hard to return to work after they have kids? Can we provide some kind of child care or some kind of support in terms of allowance, work share? Is there anything that we can we can do in the company to support women workers to come back to work? So there's a lot of things that we as the company can do for those reasons. And those are the things that if you present this chart to your management, that will help them to inspire them to have this dialogue of how we can reduce our voluntary termination, especially for our top talents, and what we can do to for those top reasons that we have here. Okay, cool. So that is everything that I want to share with you today, and I hope that is helpful. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you like it. If you have any question, please leave me a comment, and I will talk to you very soon.